Hey, this is IndigoMusic.com and the Indus Entrepreneurs Bangalore chapter presents Founders Frequency. Now, this is where we talk about entrepreneurship, an entrepreneur, what he or she should and shouldn't do when they are, coming new to the world of entrepreneurship. And joining me today are two special individuals. I've got the charter member from TiE, Mr. Ramkumar Seshu, who is an author. He's the author of Life Changing Framework. He's a creator of the Born to Win process, where he's blending ancient wisdoms from Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads into modern principles of conscious living. And I've also got the CEO of Breer, Anushka Purohit, all the way from Hong Kong. I'll tell you about Breer in a bit. It's a very fascinating company. But Anushka and Ramkumar, welcome. Yeah, this is the third episode of Founders Frequency. How does it feel to be here?
Feels wonderful. First of all, thank you very much, Rohit, for putting this together. Deeply appreciate the effort that you're making to have us on air. And lovely seeing you, Anushka. Great to have you.
Likewise, completely echo that. Excited to see everyone who's watching the video version and excited for everyone who is listening in to hopefully take away some fun tidbits about what we all do in the world of entrepreneurship. So thank you for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you guys here with us. And now I want to start off with Mr. Ramkumar. As an author, of course, you're also the creator, like I mentioned earlier, for Born to Win process, where you blend ancient wisdom into modern day living. Tell me, when you first got this idea, when you pitched it maybe to someone, what was the reaction? Because it's a new idea, but how did people react to it?
Like all interesting ideas, I think the first thing that you go through with is people will reject what you have to say. And, just to step back, Rohit, I used to be in advertising for a long time, for about
Yep.
20, 22 years. I worked on some of the most iconic brands of this country. And after that, when this whole idea of Born to Win happened, and I said, this is a great idea, and I think it's, something that we should do.
Mm.
First pitched it to my wife and said, I'm going to quit advertising and I'm going to move from Bombay to Bangalore and I'm going to start this company. And, so she was very encouraging. That was the first one. But
Yeah.
after that, I must say at least about 10 or 15 people said, you must be completely mad. Why are you trying this? You're doing so well. Why would you want to leave what you're doing well and do something which is completely uncharted? But I guess that's the whole excitement of being an entrepreneur. You're doing something new, you're doing something uncharted. There is no path that you need to follow. You create your own path in life. And it's been a fun 22 years now.
Wow. I mean, no idea I feel is invalid or no idea I feel is stupid. I think all ideas have, like we say in the creative world, I think no idea is stupid. You have to go with it. I think Ramkumar, so you would be able to, relate to that because, like you said, you were with advertising agency. Now, speaking about brilliant ideas, I want to talk to Anushka. Your company, Breer. Like for those who don't know, you guys take surplus bread and you convert it into brew. How did this idea come about? And I have never seen anybody do that in India. First of all, Anushka, is anybody doing that in India?
Oh, no one is. So we're hoping to be the first and bring it
Oh.
to the country I call home.
So tell me the inception of Breer. How did this idea come about, and what were some of the initial challenges that you had to go through?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a through and through Desi girl. I'm 100% Indian, but I interestingly never lived in India. I always lived in Hong Kong. That's where I grew up. And so part of growing up in, a third country is working with your surroundings and understanding that environment. And as an Indian, I'm sure everyone will resonate. Food waste or wastage in general is seen as a sin. We
Yeah.
try at all costs to avoid it. But in this side of the world, weirdly, it didn't seem like that. Every single day, there would be tons and tons of completely good to eat food that were being thrown away because we live in a relatively privileged society where people will pay twice, thrice, maybe even quadruple the amount of money to get fresh food. So I kind of grew up with this dissonance of at one end in the world and even in Hong Kong, you have people who are struggling to make ends meet and literally have their bread and butter on the plate for the next meal, and then you have this insane amount of wastage that heads to the landfills every single day. So I always wanted to do something about it. I volunteered a lot with the food donation organizations, food redistribution drives. And when I was doing that, I realized that even after such incredible causes, there was 70% of food that goes to waste, either
Okay.
because can't be stored overnight, or because the government doesn't allow for it given food safety standards.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, what else can we possibly do? And it was a chance celebration of exams ending. And as every university student does, I went with my friends for a couple of drinks just to have some fun. And it was over there that I realized that, because I realized that it's made of the same raw materials, I thought, why not collect everything that's heading to the landfill anyway and repurpose that and kind of elevate its value and create a high value good from it. So started doing that for fun in COVID. Ordered a little brewing kit into my home kitchen. I was studying engineering, so it's not like there was a lot of hands-on engineering I could do from my 13-inch laptop screen anyway, and
Yeah.
kind of just kept doing that. And eventually, people decided to pay us their hard-earned money for it, and now we've done pretty well for ourselves in Hong Kong and are looking to scale in India.
Speaking about, taking something like waste bread and making that into a brew and making it a successful company, Ramkumar sir, I want to ask you, mentored over 200,000 plus people, entrepreneurs. Oh, do you think this would work in India?
Absolutely.
and and
Absolutely.
and because I'll tell you why I have, because India is a roti consuming country, but when it comes to bread, I don't know what is there or not. I'm not pretty sure about that. But do you think this will work, and what do you think it could scale to?
The very thought is an interesting thought.
Yeah.
When I first heard about this thought, I said, wow, this is interesting. I mean, you normally take something and you waste it, or you do something with it, and you want to do something. I thought that idea, the germ of an idea there of converting something which is essentially waste
Mhm.
into something that can be consumed again is a very, very interesting thought, right? Normally, we take waste and we recycle it and we kind of downgrade it. You
Correct.
make it into manure, or you make it into compost, or, you can do whatever something else with that. You make it into gas, whatever. But this is the first time I heard of this idea, and I said, wow, I mean, this is interesting that you can actually take something which is a waste, something which has gone old or something like that, and then, you make it something that it can be consumed. India as a market right now, what excites me, Rohit and Anushka, is that we are at a very experimentative state in our consumption habits. Will Breer become a very niche market? Maybe initially,
Mm.
but I have a feeling that it's going to grab a lot of interest from people saying, "Hey, this is interesting," and I'm sure Anushka would have worked out her business model as to how she's going to go to market. Anushka, anytime, I mean, I would love to spend some time with you and understand how we can help you go to market. But it has a great, it's a great idea. It's great potential, if you ask me.
And also have a couple of brace.
Well,
Exactly.
yes, why not? I mean,
But Anushka, I want to ask you, with company, you obviously are advertising it as, I mean, everybody knows, someone who consumes beer, they know that this is maybe a waste that has come out from a bakery, which you have converted into beer. Does that put few people off, saying, hey, it's coming from waste, so how good or how healthy is this? I mean, so what do you have to say about that?
Think initially everyone was very confused about it because, like you mentioned earlier, in the interview, it's something that not a lot of people have done. It's a very new concept, and with any new concept, it takes a lot of time for the public to be receptive to it. So I think more than putting them off and trying it, it was things like, oh, bread. Beer. Does that mean there are chunks of bread in it? Am I going to taste the bread? Like there were a lot of questions like that. Kind of alluding back to the previous question, our go-to market in India is actually to do mithai beer. So where Hong Kong makes a lot of bread and therefore wastes a lot of bread,
Yeah.
India, and I'm sure you all know, we have mithai shops every 2 meters, right? So every day, tons and tons of gulab jamuns, rasgullas, and whatnot go to waste. So we actually plan to collect all of that and turn it into the same beverage. So now there, I feel like again, it might be taken with a lot of apprehension by people who will be like, "What? How does that work? What is it
Yeah.
going to taste like?" But I think it's that not knowing factor that pushes people to want to try it for them to decide themselves. And that's the pull factor that we're hoping for. Our goal is tell me whether you like it or dislike it later. Take
Correct.
the initiative to go try it, pick it up first, and then the onus is on us to convert you into hopefully being a paying customer. So we try to play around with, the element of suspense and the unknown and make that unknown territory a little bit more familiar for customer.
Right. And also, I would like to bring Ramkumar's point back that India is at a state where people want to experiment. They want to try new things. Because if you ask me, let's say about my dad, and if he has a certain brew that he drinks, he doesn't want to try another brew, right? He's stuck in that, he's like, everything else is bad, this is the best. But me personally, if I see something new on a shelf, not just brew, anything for food also, I think we go grab it, we try it, and if it's good, then we recommend. Otherwise, no, we just let it go. So I think it's a great time for Breer to enter India, and I'm going to be one big customer. Just saying. But I want to know from Ramkumar sir, how do you see these young entrepreneurs such as Anushka? How do you see them? Because she's in the food and beverage business, and you would have probably worked with a lot of food and beverage business in your advertising agent time, right? How do you see them come in and grow? One, and second, what are some of the challenges that they may face when they come to India when it comes to licensing and the entire the structure?
Let me handle the first part first, and then we'll get on to the next part. Yes, we have a few fairly stringent norms that we follow when we are doing, licensing, and kind of norms that you need to follow, especially when it comes to anything which is a food or a beverage. And I think that's good because, that also puts an entrepreneur on the watch to make sure that everything that is going into that particular item, whether it is something that is a solid food or a liquid food, it doesn't really matter. And so that is something that needs to be navigated. It's not impossible to navigate. It is
Yeah.
possible to do that, and that's one part. So I'm not really worried about that. I think you just have to do it. And again, Anushka, there are enough people here in Bangalore and TiE who, would be very, very happy to help you navigate that entire process in India. Okay, number one. Number two, the interesting thing, and I remember doing this for a client of mine way back, where we did some blind tasting of a nice amber liquid. And I hope your viewers and your listeners will understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And some of these were purportedly from certain parts of the United Kingdom, and some of these were from India. And when we did do a blind tasting of these liquids, 9 out of 10 got it completely wrong. And these were people who loved the liquid, who would consume it regularly and stuff like that, who swear by it, saying that, you give it to me and I know what this is all about, smell, by the taste, etc., etc. So I'm sure people will consume it. And then the backstory becomes a very interesting story saying that, hey, do you know something? This is from your favorite gulab jamun or from your favorite Mysore pak or whatever is your favorite sweet that you want to eat. And then the other backstory saying that, instead of wasting the stuff, we're actually using it to upcycle, not recycle. Okay,
Correct.
this kind of product. Those become interesting stories that will then add to the let's say, to the entire experience
Mm.
that we are having with the brand.
Absolutely.
That's
I
that's
think,
the feeling I have.
like you mentioned about Goa, the one that make out of cashew and also from coconut. I think they also went on to Shark Tank India to raise some funds and stuff like that. I think this is where a lot of people, including me, I'll take a brand name. It's called Desmond G, right? So they make agave. They basically make tea liquid. So I thought it was a foreign brand for a long time until I saw that the name Desmond G, his name is Desmond, and they call him G. So it's Desmond G. So I was like, whoa, this is a Goan brand. It's from India. And they, like Anushka, they also make it from a plant which they consider is waste. It is usually, to make the border for the paddy fields, and they make it out of that agave plant, which is abundant in Goa. So I think it's a great time. I think for Anushka, I wish to see you soon in Bangalore. Your products in Bangalore as well, because this is the pub capital of India. So this is where you got to be. Ramkumar, sir, tell me, like you said, from advertising times to now, this is especially for all the entrepreneurs who wants to advertise. Things have changed from newspapers to radios to TV and now digital. Where should they focus more and how should they focus more?
Rohit, that's a very, very interesting question. Let me tell you, the power of your message
Hmm.
gets accentuated by the engagement that the medium inherently drives. Media, the way the media relates to people, because what happens with radio is that it kind of envelops you, whether you're driving to office in a Bangalore, or Goa, wherever you are.
Yeah.
And I find that the power of radio is extremely, extremely strong. Okay. The only challenge is that from an advertising perspective, we now need to start customizing messages to suit the medium rather than take a particular message and run it through all the different media that's available. I think radio is very interesting now because its engagement level of engagement is very, very nice. I also believe today digital media is here to stay. There is no question about it, but it is very cluttered. And standing out in that space is just not easy anymore. Okay. Traditional media has a great reach, which is radio, which is television or newspapers, magazines. They have their own, reach. So each of these is different. So if I'm launching a brand, then I will go newspaper. If I'm launching a brand, I'll possibly go television. If I want to engage with a very specific audience, then I will go digital. But if I want to create a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, then I will definitely use radio, because you don't go to a radio station and, if you have a favorite radio station like yours, Indigo, I will switch it on every day when I'm driving to office.
Correct.
And I will only listen to that. It's not going to be a fleeting engagement that I will have, right?
Yeah.
So I think each media has its own use.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anushka, I want to ask you, Breer, when is it coming to India? What's the plan? Give us some insights.
Hopefully very, very soon. Maybe not as soon as this episode's airing, but maybe by next month. So we have a lot of cool conversations in the pipeline. We've already brewed our first gulab jamun pale ale. So the recipe is ready. The R&D has been done. I actually love the question that you asked, Ramkumar, earlier about the licensing and the actual structuring of a company to operate in India, because that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to figure out, how we set up an entity, how the entity operates, what our tax liabilities will be, where we have to pay the tax, all of that information. And the beauty of India is we're a massive country and such a melting pot of cultures. So because we have so many states and each states have their own rules, it's not a one size fits all blanket approach that you can apply. So doing my research, understanding more about the country, what works where, which mithai to do in which state, where will it resonate. But we're definitely looking at launching in Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai first, maybe Goa as well, actually, because obviously consumption in Goa is great. So starting with these four and then hopefully slowly covering the entire India.
Fantastic. Well, looking forward to having you here, your brand here in India. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of support. Ramkumar sir, thank you so much for connecting. Anushka, thank you so much for connecting. It's been a fantastic conversation. Got to learn so many new things from both of you. Hope to see you soon. We'll catch up sometime.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us here.
Thank you and cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Yeah.